All right, we are back. This is Maverick with Maverick Approach, and we have a special guest today, the one and only Tariq Nasheed.
All up in here. All up in here.
What's going on, brother? How you been?
Good, man. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm working, man.
Yes, indeed.
I'm trying to be like you.
Man, that's what it is.
Man, it's been a long time. When's the last time I seen you?
Did you come by the museum last time I saw you? Right?
Went to the museum.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was, when was that?
Oh, man. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. But what you got going on at the museum? For those who don't know, he has a museum in Los Angeles, self-funded. You know, this guy is amazing. He does any and everything. Author. If you guys don't know him, first of all, let me introduce him. He's an author. He is an entrepreneur. He does pretty much everything under the sun. I mean, at this point, I mean, you got a streaming service. What is it called?
FBAstream.com.
FBA Stream and whatnot. So, I mean, this guy is all over the place. I mean, you know, if you haven't seen him by now, I mean, you probably just not on the internet. So, but the museum.
We have a museum called the Hidden History Museum in LA, for those who don't know. We did an initial crowdfunding, got $1 million in a month, and just shocked everybody.
Damn.
And we built this beautiful museum in South LA. We have a lot of phenomenal community events there. We have poetry readings, rap contests, comedy shows. Just a lot of things for the community there, and it's a very popular staple in the community because it's a neutral zone.
Right.
People from different neighborhoods can come in and just put all the BS to the door, and everybody can have a good time. So the community has really supported the museum, and I'm very proud of LA for that, because we need that. LA, black people are going through so much in LA.
Right.
We're getting hit from all angles, from those in the dominant society, people who are buffers from the dominant society. So the community needed something to kind of get us codified, and that was something that was specific for us and a safe place for us to go and network and vibe and just love on each other and just politic with each other.
Yeah, that's what's needed now more than ever, like you said, because I feel like right now there is so much mess going on. There's a lot of agents out there.
Yes, it is.
I want to ask you right off the rip, who do you think is, infiltrating the society as far as like, Black Americans or whatnot? Because, I see a lot of people going after, foundational Black Americans and whatnot. Do you feel like there's a lot of infiltration, or who do you really feel like is, on the outs as far as like who do we need to watch for?
Listen, right now, for those who don't know, there is a major delineation movement. Us as foundational Black Americans, we're recognizing our lineage, and we're getting really codified around our lineage. And one thing that the federal government has never wanted is for us to be unified. Everything is all about disunity with us, piling people on top of us so that we will not be unified. Therefore, we will not be organized. They understand when foundational Black Americans, when we organize, we start changing things. When we created a grassroots movement to become citizens and get the 14th and 13th Amendment popping, that was the foundational Black Americans grassroots movement. The dominant society didn't want to do that. We made them do that. The civil rights movement, that was a grassroots movement where we organized and made them clear those rights for everybody. Even in the, I don't like to use the term Black Lives Matter because that's a brand that was put on us by the Democrats. It was
that was. I mean, well, you can say, I'll say allegedly, but but looking to George Soros and all those guys, they are the ones that's pushing it. And now they're like bringing it back up and have this fake rage when it comes to like certain things they want to push, like some like certain agendas and whatnot. So you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, because when that thing started, everything started after Trayvon Martin. After he got murdered, we organized on the grassroots to bring justice for cases like that. And then we started to see these weird people pop up. And these BLM signs. And that was controlled opposition. They put a brand on the grassroots, and then the media defined what the brand was. They said, these are the leaders of this new brand that we have called Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And they also want to say that trans lives matter. And
yeah, where did that come from?
yeah,
Black trans and all that? Like, wait, hold up.
Hell? Yeah, we're like, we're on the grassroots for like confused. Like, what's that about? Who are these people talking about all this other stuff? They would go out there on the bodies of a dead black man and then go out there and change it up. And it would become something totally different. They start talking about immigrants and fighting for immigrant rights. And then it became something else. Then it became very exploitive.
Right.
So we started looking and seeing who was doing this stuff. And a lot of this was coming from a lot of these left-wing think tanks that was putting a lot of this information out here, and this misinformation and redirection. Also, another thing that was happening at some of these grassroots protests, we would show up and there would be like a stack of bricks somewhere.
George Soros. Yeah. Like, who's funding this? Like, you have these stack of bricks, and then you got these people like, let's start damaging. It's like, well, hold up, wait, this isn't what we're doing. And then if you look into Black Lives, the leaders, so-called, these people are buying multi-million-dollar homes, and like, who put you up to this?
And then we would see people who were undercover cops throwing Molotov cocktails at buildings.
Yeah.
And that was a whole finesse too, because the buildings and things were already insured.
Right.
So they were trying to redirect people to do property damage so that people wouldn't go out there and start harming people. That's what they didn't want. They didn't want people to go out there and start running up in folks' homes.
Right.
So what they would do, they would have police cars would just be right there.
Right.
And it was always an old police car. I want y'all to go back and look at some of the footage.
That's true. I seen it. I was out there.
Yeah. There'd be these old police cars. So people attacking the old police cars. So they're taking their frustration out on this property that's already insured. So now you're not going to go up in somebody's house and snatch them up. So they said, we got to let these Negroes get that energy out. So that was real controlled opposition. It was real heavy, man.
And then get those photo ops and everything else.
And then I want you to touch on this. A lot of the stuff that was going on online, you had all of these influencers that were phony online, and they were doing that like a decade or so ago.
Right.
They would get these people that they would pay, they would get these troll accounts, they would get these sock puppet accounts, and tell people, hey, we're going to turn up at Walmart on this street tomorrow. And, they had already set everything up. The place is already insured. The police is already out there. So they would do all of this type of stuff. And now this whole AI thing, they got AI influencers from what I understand. Have you touched on that?
Yeah.
What's that about now?
Man, because, so this is what's happening. So Meta just unleashed plans to have AI-generated users. And there's this thing called the dead internet theory. Have you heard of that?
I heard about that.
So the dead internet theory essentially is most of the internet. This theory says this internet that we use every day, Facebook, social media at large, that most of it is bot generated and AI comments and everything else. And I've experienced it.
Me too.
I'll bring receipts to a certain topic, and then you'll just have this random account that has 50 followers, 30 followers, and then sometimes they don't even have a picture or anything, and they'll just be contrary all the time, and then just try to like get you off your square. And I'm like, and it'll be a lot of them, right? So this is what's happening now, because it's like, okay, is the dead internet theory, is it a theory now? Because Meta is rolling out these AI generated, bot accounts that's going to be commenting, that's going to be sharing content, and now they have even an agenda. They have like the first one I saw was a black lady that was queer and all that stuff. Yeah, it's like, wait, hold up. It's like, wait, what is that? Like, how is AI gay now? Like, this is like we and it's an agenda. So it's like, okay, where is this coming from? And I feel like that's been going on for a long time. What do you think?
It's been going on. During the election, this last election, part of the agenda was to get black people to go along with the Democrat program. That was a big thing. So whenever a lot of us on the grassroots were on places like Twitter asking questions about what are the Democrats going to actually do for the black community, we would get flooded with all of these accounts, very contrary, just like you were saying, shut up, y'all just shut up and vote, y'all just hate the black woman, y'all just don't want to see a black woman like Kamala shine. We just kept getting thousands of hits like that. I said, watch, after November 5th, them bots are going to go away.
Yeah.
Right after the election, when Kamala lost, every one of those accounts disappeared.
They did.
All of them. They just disappeared overnight.
They did.
And so that showed that there was an agenda. Somebody was pushing that stuff.
Yeah, of course. And that's the thing with Kamala raising over $1 billion. You don't think she had some type of social media team with a bot farm going out trying to change public opinion, all that stuff? Like, I don't know if you've seen my video, but I did a piece on Kamala talking about where she did the debate with Trump. And I was like, man, them earrings look funny.
Yeah.
And everybody was, and that blew up, and that caught wind, and they featured me on Forbes, MSN, New York Post, and they did a whole hit piece on me saying, oh yeah, this conspiracy theorist is talking about her earrings and everything else. And there was this earrings called Nova earrings where they're earring earphones, and they look exactly alike the pair she had. And get this, every time she wears those specific earrings, she has a speaking engagement. Interesting. So any other photo ops, I don't see them. And I've done research on it. I'm like, yo, she wore these like 10 times. And I'm like, okay, there were people were saying there were Tiffany earrings. I'm like, you don't think the government can construct some earring earphones that look like Tiffany earrings? Right. So and she was sounding like Obama.
Right. And when she's not wearing those earrings, she can barely form a cohesive sentence. That woman is horrible at speaking.
She is.
And she fumbles. Any type of pushback you give her, she falls apart. Right. So yeah, somebody was clearly, allegedly in her ear, coaching her on what to say.
Did you see there was something that just came out the other day where she was saying the Pledge of Allegiance in Congress, and she messed up the Pledge of Allegiance?
Oh, I didn't see
She didn't even know it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so like, so this is what we're dealing with, and I'm so glad, like, man, we dodged a bullet with that one.
Yes, we did. And look, they don't want Trump in, man.
Yeah.
The assassination attempts on that guy, I'm like, what does Trump know, or what is Trump trying to stop? Because these people are really on Trump's bumper. Like out here, at the Trump Hotel, they got it barricaded off because of that Cybertruck incident that happened.
Right. What do you think that was?
That sounds like somebody, man. I'm gonna put my tinfoil kufi on, man.
Okay.
A lot of people are saying the deep state is trying to get at Trump.
Yeah.
They're trying to let him know, hey, man, you don't mess up what we got going on.
Right.
And I don't want to get into some of the jab stuff because your pages get down.
Yeah, they're getting taken down, man.
Yeah, I got you. They went back and took some of my old videos down where I'm just lightweight mentioning some of that stuff.
Right, yeah.
But there's certain medical things that are popping back up now. I'll say that.
Right.
Now that Trump is the president-elect.
Yeah.
And Trump was against some of that medical stuff. I'll say that. But there's some things Trump has going on that they want stopped. Somebody wants stopped, and there's some very powerful people trying to stop it. And I'm not a MAGA guy at all. There were people, because I wasn't a supporter of Kamala, they were like, well, you, Tariq, is MAGA. I'm not MAGA. I voted for the couch in the last election. I'm an agenda-based voter.
Right.
And my agenda was something tangible for foundational Black Americans.
Right.
And it's interesting, the fact that we had a delineation movement, and we were talking about getting reparations, because we had two huge rallies in Washington, D.C. And so we let people know reparations was on the menu for this election.
Right.
Because we want a tangible agenda, they try to frame us as some type of extremist. They try to frame us as low-key right-wingers. We're not.
Like we hate black women.
Right, we hate black women, all that nonsense.
We hate, pretty much everything that what they stand for. But what a lot of people don't know is the Democratic Party actually created the KKK.
Yes, he did.
So look at the Klan back in 1924. The Democratic Convention, there's men in white hoods outside the convention.
And that's my thing with the Democrats. They try to put all the racism on the right-wingers. Like when they did the Democratic National Convention for the last Kamala Harris election, they had Al Sharpton out there with the Central Park Five.
Right.
And they were like, yes, Donald Trump put out an ad against these young brothers. And the thing is, the Central Park Five, they were railroaded by the Democrats. I want everybody to remember
the judge.
The judge was a Democrat. The prosecutor was a Democrat.
The
mayor was a Democrat. The DA was a Democrat. It was a Democrat conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. They were burying those brothers.
Right.
So I really wish people not let the Democrats get away with that little Jedi mind trick where they put all the racism off on the Republicans.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, back then, even Donald Trump was a Democrat.
He was a Democrat at the time.
So they were rocking with him then, and then all of a sudden now, as soon as he wanted to become president, everybody hated him, right? But before, he was on Fresh Prince, he was on Home Alone, he was like, the guy they making rap songs about. about him, and then all of a sudden we all hate him. It's interesting, but nobody does the research. It's like, well, he's the one that sent the plane for Nelson Mandela when he wanted to do his U.S. tour. Nobody from the U.S. wanted to mess with Nelson Mandela at all. He was like, hey, look, I got you and your people. The same thing we did for historically black colleges. He brought back a bill that Congress killed to give them $1 billion a year.
Yeah.
And I ask people, I'm like, okay, remove your feelings. Let's talk politics. What policies and what laws did Trump put in place against black people or any other race that could, as far as like, could be deemed racist?
Right.
They can't come up with nothing.
They'll start talking about things he did when he was not in office. I'm like, okay, those are personal things, but we got to be very truthful. Trump did not put any policies together that specifically harmed black people. Now, Biden did. Yeah. Biden and Kamala, when she was out in California, she was doing things that harmed black people specifically. Yes. Black men and women. So
she tried to, defame Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah.
When that whole thing was going on, and she was, the DA at the time, and she was saying like, oh yeah, we gotta look into this, and because it looks like that, he's guilty, and he wasn't even, convicted or anything, and like, mind you, the FBI raided his house and everything, and they didn't find anything, and she was already, on the offense.
Oh yeah, and the Democrats, they have done a lot of stuff to black people that we, for some reason, overlook because they come around every 4 years and act nice and bring a couple of pies to a black church. And that's not good enough, man. Out in California, the agenda for the schools are horrible. Yeah. Black kids are being targeted out there in California. Black people who are business people are being targeted. Their permits are getting revoked. They're not getting the right permits they're supposed to get. They're getting flooded by immigrant groups that are hostile to them. We're not getting any hate crime bills to protect us like these other groups are. Right. And that's all orchestrated by the Democrats. Yeah. So we have to put their feet to the fire.
Yeah. I mean, they had bills for, the Asian hate. Yeah. And then the gays with Obama and everything else. It's like they put everything else in front of it. And that's what my whole thing is. It's like when you really strip it all down, you're like, okay, who is really doing what? Like, you got to be like, okay, they're saying that, like you said, the conservatives or the right wing or whomever on the Republican side is racist. But when you really look at the facts, it's like, wait, hold up. They're not really, like, for one, putting anything tangibly in place for us. And they always, and that's another thing, they always cling on to stuff like Black History Month. Right. But here's the thing. I think Black History Month is bullshit because Black history is American history.
Yes, it is.
And when they try to separate that, that's a tactic that they use. And I always have this argument with people, and they're like, well, how could you say that? It's like, okay, well, ask any other race of people if they want their history marginalized to the shortest month of the year. Right. They would say no. Right. I mean, does it make sense? Because, a lot of Black Americans invented things that we use today.
Yes, we do.
GPS. We're talking about elevators. We're talking about
doorknobs. The first patent on modern doorknobs was the foundation of Black American. Yeah. Home security systems, refrigerated trucks. We've done it all. Everything culturally great about America. That comes from foundational Black Americans. Our footprint is all on that stuff.
The video games, the first cartridge that was created even before Atari.
Computer chips.
Yeah. So this is like American history. So it's like they try to separate the two and give us the shortest month and be like, okay, be happy with that. And then let's never talk about this ever again.
And this is why we're normalizing foundational Black American culture. That's why there's such a major delineation movement where we're not denigrating people, because that's another thing. We're recognizing our foundational Black American lineage, right, and then people try to equate that into denigrating others. Other people can recognize their history and celebrate it, and we'll pop our collar to it. Hey, man, you Caribbean, shout out. You Puerto Rican, hey, shout out to you. The minute we say, hey, but shout out to foundational Black Americans. Oh, why y'all niggas so divisive? Oh, why y'all hate us? Y'all hate everybody. We supposed to be together. Well, we're supposed to be invisible, according to you. Right. Because We want to put everything under one big Negro, as I say,
right.
when it's convenient.
Right.
But everybody wants to separate from us and delineate when it's something positive for their community. So we're saying, hey, we as foundational Black Americans, we're just recognizing our lineage and the uniqueness in who we are, and it's not denigrating anybody.
Right. I mean, you should be proud of wherever you come from.
Yes.
Cool. We should be able to do the same.
But the thing is with us as foundational Black Americans, people think that we're supposed to have the same mindset of an immigrant group. And we're not immigrants. We're the only non-immigrants.
Right.
So people
I got 4 generations here. I looked up my history tree. My great grandmother and grandfather was born in Texas. I mean, they built a lot of things here. So it's like, I know nothing about Africa. I've been to Africa one time. So it's like, you can't call me an African American.
Right. The term African American, that's a misnomer, and that was introduced in the late 80s by the Democrats and Jesse Jackson, and that was designed to make us comparable to immigrant groups. So when you say African American, now we're comparable to Italian Americans, Mexican Americans, Somali Americans. So now we're comparable to immigrant groups.
Right.
And we are foundational. We didn't immigrate from any place. We actually built this place from the ground up, and that's a very unique relationship to this country.
And even Trump said that. He's the first guy, president I've ever even heard say that.
The Democrats won't even say that. The Democrats run around talking about this is a nation built by immigrants. No, immigrants don't build nations.
No, they came here
by
after.
definition, you come after the nation is built. Right. So that's an oxymoron to say the immigrants built the nation. No, it was built by foundational Black Americans, and the immigrants came once the nation was established. Right. So we gotta own that as foundational Black Americans.
Right. And what was that thing you posted by? Oh boy, I don't know his name, but he was picking cotton, and
it was a white man.
A troll.
Yeah, some white troll, some white supremacists. Like, he picked a couple of pieces of cotton. Like, see how easy that was? Blacks don't deserve reparations. Like, stop it. It wasn't that easy. If it were that easy, why didn't you do it? Why didn't the white supremacists go out there and just pick that little piece of cotton?
And I commented on that post, and I was like, well, here's the thing. And he was saying about reparations. I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, then why did the slave owners get reparations?
Right, because they really didn't do nothing.
They didn't do nothing. Yeah. So they were like, okay, they got the reparations, and I don't know what that's about, but okay, cool.
And the Irish indentured servants, some of the white indentured servants who they try to say were slaves, but they were not. You had Irish criminals who they sent over here, and they worked for 7 or 10 years. And after they worked as indentured servants, they actually got paid. And they got land, and they got weapons. They got something called freedom dues. We never received any of that. So, yes, we definitely deserve reparations. There's no time limit on it. There was a white woman who was still getting a Civil War pension up until about 3 years ago, until she died. There was a white woman out there in North Carolina somewhere, because her father was very old when he had her. He had her in the 1930s or something when he was hella old. So she was hella old, and she was still getting some Civil War money from the Civil War pension check. So, and it was a white woman. So people in the dominant society, they get compensated for things all the time. There's no statutes of limitations on it whatsoever. You got families still getting paid from what happened with 9/11. That happened, when was that, 27 years ago? How long was that?
Yeah, it was a minute ago.
Yeah, something like that, 25.
Yeah,
something
20,
like that.
shit, yeah. This is 2025 now. Yeah, 24 years
24 years ago, yeah. My math is off. But yeah, some of the families are still getting compensated for that. So everybody's been compensated for the grievous, the wrong that has been done to them. But when we talk about us getting compensation, people start splaining. So we're not trying to hear no more splaining.
Yeah, we need tangibles for sure.
Yes, indeed.
Tangibles 2025.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
But yeah, we do have a new administration coming in. Donald Trump is getting back into the office. We got a lot of chaos going on.
Yes, it is.
So do you think that's a fact? I mean, I know we just touched on that, but let's dive deeper into that.
Yeah.
All this chaos with the Los Angeles attack, and we have New Orleans attack, or not Los Angeles, sorry, Las Vegas attack.
Las Vegas, yeah.
Do you think that's a direct result of Trump getting back in office.
Yeah, there was a white lady named Sarah Adams who's clicked in with the CIA, and she has been talking for months about an ISIS attack that's going to happen in 2025. And damn it, the first day of 2025, 2 attacks happened.
Yep.
People say possibly more because there were other shootings in different cities around the country.
Yeah.
So some people believe that this might be a response to Trump. Somebody's trying to intimidate him. Somebody's trying to send a message because he's trying to stop certain agendas. Mm-hmm. Even with the immigration thing, he's putting a halt on the immigration thing.
Right.
And a lot of corporate entities make a lot of money because of the illegal immigrants, because of the wages. They don't have to pay them the same type of wages they would have to pay a citizen who would want medical, dental,
right.
a 401k plan, and the whole 9 yards. So you can save a lot of money just hiring somebody who moseys across the border. So the corporate entity, they have a vested interest in a lot of the illegals coming over.
Right.
So some people say that might be one of the things that's making Trump a target. But yes, somebody wants Trump out of here.
They do.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen how many attempts? I mean,
Yeah.
it was 2 official attempts. Then one guy got caught with bombs in his car, and he didn't, make it too far. But
and there's too many coincidences going on. One of the guys who tried to take Trump out, this guy was a military guy who was stationed at Fort Bragg. The guy who blew this thing up out in Vegas, Fort Bragg.
Yep.
The guy in New Orleans, Fort Bragg. They both rented cars from the same app, doing the same.
From Turo.
Yeah, from Turo. So there ain't that many coincidences in the world.
Right.
Sometimes things ain't a coincidence; it's a pattern.
Right, and that's the thing too with Fort Bragg, and it's called I believe Fort Liberty now.
Yes.
And there's a CIA document that actually was declassified. This is years ago. But it teaches PSYOPs. It's a 2-hour course where they teach PSYOPs in unconventional warfare environments. And this is like the recipe for, exactly what's going on right now, because they want a lot of confusion. They're saying that, these are isolated incidences. Now there's more information coming out and nobody knows what's going on. But like you said, if you look at the patterns, this is what's going on, because they're like the first day of the year, they have one guy get blown up in a car, trying to send a message, obviously, in front of Trump Tower. Then we have this other guy. First of all, in New Orleans, why are the barricades not up?
Right.
Nobody's asking that question. And here's another thing that just happened today. There was an assistant to the DA's office who just suicided himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this just happened.
Wow.
And they're saying this guy was working on sexual assault cases. That was his. Here, let me pull it up. Actually, he was actually working on. He was a specialist in sexual harassment cases and whatnot. And this dude just took himself out. So that don't make no sense. So what did he know?
Right. And did he take himself out? Because that's another thing.
Yeah, allegedly. Apparently.
Right.
He just took himself out, and, it's in the same city, and while all this stuff is going on, and those barricades weren't up. They said they had the barricades, the type that the temporary kind that you just push over with your finger. So usually those hydraulics are up, especially on a New Year's Eve.
Right.
Why wouldn't, that's odd. What do you think that's about?
Right. And the Super Bowl is coming up out there, so that's going to be very interesting.
Right.
Also, the inauguration is happening in a couple of weeks, so that's going to be very interesting out there in D.C.
He got to tighten up his security.
Yeah, it's D.C. is going to be insane, which it should be.
Yeah.
We really need to tighten it up because something is going on, and we need to keep all eyes and ears open.
Yeah, with going back to the cars that they rented, so the Cybertruck in Vegas, he rented that on Turo. The New Orleans guy as well, right?
Yep.
Now, Turo is owned 31% by a company named IAC.
Aren't they clicked in with the Democrats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because who's on the board is Chelsea Clinton.
Right. That's a hell of a coincidence.
It's a lot of coincidence, right? It seems to be a lot of coincidences with this whole situation. So, okay, you have Clinton, and you look at their track record. I ain't gonna go down the list, but chefs be dying around them, and all types of crazy shit. So, she's just happened to be on the board of directors. Interesting. And then another thing too is that we got to look into who rented to them? Because they don't own those cars, right? So, like, one of the cars that the guy who did New Orleans, that car was sitting on a lot December 14th. And it's a brand new car, and then somebody buys it right before this happens, and then puts it on Turo and rents it to him. Who is that?
Right.
So all these links and whatnot, it's like that. So that's why it's really suspicious that she's on the board of directors because, I mean, allegedly she could have sent somebody out.
Right.
I'll give you a scenario. She could have sent somebody out. Hey, go buy this car, put it on Turo. We have the data, so we can scrub it, we can control it, we can change it. Just saying. So
yeah, it's getting fishy.
Yeah, it is.
It's getting real fishy, man.
It is.
And they know the guy down there in New Orleans. They're saying that he was working with multiple people.
Right.
So they said he definitely wasn't working alone.
Right.
And didn't they arrest somebody at his crib? Because I saw something where they were snatching him out the house.
Right.
So
and did you see the interview that wasn't even an interview? It was a walkthrough, which is the oddest thing to me, of his house.
Right. Some lady some independent journalist was in the house. I'm like, who let this? How did she get? This is a crime scene.
Right.
How in the world did she get in the house?
Yeah, they saw his book and was open on a certain page on the Quran and all this other stuff. I'm like, yo, this looks like a stage.
Right. That looked real weird. That didn't make no sense. An active crime scene, and this independent journalist is just walking around showing all of this stuff. So,
right.
So something is going on.
It is. And going back to how you said with the people not really working alone, this reminds me of Luigi. So the guy who took out the CEO of United Healthcare. Now, he put monopoly money in the backpack, which they found, right? And he was leaving clues like the damn Riddler, right? And if you know anything about Monopoly, you can't play alone.
Right.
You have to be able to have other people playing with you. Pieces on the board, literally, right? So that makes me think he was the first domino to fall, and all this other stuff, may or may not be connected, but it is definitely an attack on some type of system. Being that, the biggest healthcare provider in America, the CEO gets taken out.
Yeah.
And then everything else starts to happen. So, I don't know.
It's interesting. And people are looking at the Luigi guy as a hero because a lot of people are already disgruntled with the corporate sector. So it's interesting about what's going on out here, man.
It's crazy. And another thing, too, that I kind of put together that I guess nobody really saw, I was like, okay, we had the Super Bowl in Vegas last year. Then Super Bowl is in New Orleans this year.
Yeah.
And then we have, these attacks happen and whatnot. So it's very coincidental that, I look at like numbers and symbols and everything. So last year, the Super Bowl was on the 11th of February. Now this year, it's on the 9th. 9/11.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So it's just it's just kind of weird.
These numbers. Even with 2025, you add the numbers up, that comes to 9.
Right.
In 2025, and 9 is the number of completion. That's the number of change. So this is a very metaphysical time right now where there's going to be a paradigm shift in what's going on.
Right.
So it's interesting to see how things are going to play out this year in particular for 2025.
Right, for sure. Switching gears for a minute, I did see something that you posted I want to touch on that happened in Virginia. So there was something that happened with, and then maybe you have more of the lowdown on it. There was a Virginia nurse that was doing something with the babies.
Yeah, man. This is white nurse out there in Virginia. Oh, my goodness, man. This black family, they had their baby in there, man. This is a newborn baby, and she's fracturing the baby's legs and just purposely harming the baby. And from what I understand, she's done this to a number of babies. But this is this one baby that she was charged for is a little black baby. And a lot of people feel a certain way about that, that you have these suspected white supremacists harming these children like this. And we see this with the most vulnerable in our community. They'll do this with children, and they will do this to our special needs people. They do this to our elderly, because a lot of elderly black people are abused in these nursing homes. So it's very important for us to keep an eye on the vulnerable people in our community, because the dominant society, man, many of them, some of these white supremacists are ruthless and heartless.
Damn.
And they will take the cowardly approach. They don't think like we think. we don't harm children.
Right.
That's nothing that's normalized with us on a systematic level. You might have some crackhead here or there, but harming children or harming people who are vulnerable, that's always looked upon as cowardly in our society.
Right.
But with white supremacists, man, all bets are off with them. So we really have to make sure these kids are watched over, our elderly is taken care of. We really have to keep our eyes and ears open.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yes,
was there any reason that they said she like?
Well, there's no reason to do.
She was just doing
that. Yeah, the fact that the hospital would even hire this person. See, that's the problem.
Yeah,
people are looking at that hospital like, how come y'all didn't vet this moron?
Yeah, like what's the vetting process?
There would be no reason to harm a damn innocent baby.
Right.
The baby was talking shit. You know what I'm saying? So there would be no reason to do that.
Yeah.
You just have evil in your heart to do that.
Right. I was thinking maybe like she was on something. Maybe she was a drug addict. Maybe
she shouldn't have been working there. See,
right.
That's the thing. If she was doing any of that, that's going to make the hospital liable, which they should be. And I hope that family sues the pants off of that hospital.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That is crazy, man. I do have a segment that we will go over. It's called Moment of Truth.
Yes.
I want to get you your thoughts on these persons, places, things. It's just a bunch of random stuff that, I put together, and I want a one-word answer that correlates or how you feel about this particular person, place, a thing, or whatever.
Got it.
So, okay, so let's do it. Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
One word.
Targeted.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hip hop.
One word for hip hop. FBA.
Okay.
That's one word.
9/11.
I'm trying to use one word.
One word.
Terrifying. I'll say that.
Okay. Joe Biden.
Racist.
Big time.
Racist as hell.
Africa.
The motherland.
Okay.
Motherland.
January 6th.
White supremacist.
Okay. Fat Joe.
White supremacist.
Okay. The U.S. government.
Complicit.
Okay. Kamala Harris.
Biryani chicken. Not a black woman. Tandoori chicken.
Drake.
Because I like Drake. Miscalculated. That's the word. Because he miscalculated the beef. Yeah.
All right. Aliens.
Real. I believe there are aliens out there.
Okay. Black Americans.
Foundational.
Okay. Kendrick.
Legend. Love that brother.
Okay.
Legend.
All right. Is that all I have? Okay, that's all I have. Yes. I had some other ones, but I don't want to give no shine.
Yes, we know. No,
we don't give troll shine.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, so that was my list. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting. So with Drake, real quick, you said that he was miscalculated. Why do you think that is?
That beef with Drake, he miscalculated that. I mean, not the beef with Kendrick, I'm sorry. The beef with Kendrick, I think Drake miscalculated because Drake has won some of his beefs.
Yeah.
The one with Meek Mills, Drake surprised a lot of people, and he came out on top. So, Drake was feeling himself.
Right.
But he miscalculated with Kendrick. He was going back and forth with Kendrick, and he elevated Kendrick. See, that's the thing. Sometimes when you're beefing with somebody and you're on top, you might inadvertently elevate him. So he elevated Kendrick's profile, and Kendrick came out with a damn #1 record dissing him.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and this song might even win a Grammy.
That's the thing. Yeah, it's up for a Grammy, right?
I think it might be. But yeah.
Do you think he's going to actually perform that song at the Super Bowl?
Yeah, and that's another thing. Drake is, sending legal paperwork to stop him from performing that song at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that would be a
That's
death
the first time we've seen somebody file paperwork over a diss record.
Yeah,
that's how bad that diss record was.
It was, yeah.
You know? That's why I say he miscalculated that.
Yeah.
And that's what Drake kind of messed up, because Drake turned into a low-key Karen. You don't start telling no niggas because you lost a diss. You lost a rap battle. You can't turn it to Karen, brother.
Yeah. To play devil's advocate, the only thing, though, what I didn't like about that whole beef, and I think I told you about this, I think that the tactic saying that Drake was a pedo, I didn't like that.
Right.
Without any hard evidence. People were saying, well, he kissed a 17-year-old girl in Denver, Colorado. For one, let's stick to the facts. Her dad was there. 2, in the state of Colorado, that's a legal consenting age.
Right.
And he asked her, and that's what it was. Cool. Weird? Yes. I ain't kissing no. Anything with teen behind their name, I ain't with it.
But yeah, but in a rap battle, you know, all gloves are off.
Of course,
so,
of course.
It's like you're roasting, so you're just going for the jugular.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, anything goes.
Yeah, anything goes.
The only reason I didn't like it, though, because they did that same shit to Michael Jackson without any evidence. Right. And I'm like, okay, that's a low blow to where that is, you almost can't come back from that, you know? And that's the thing, like, to this day, they call Michael Jackson that, and it's like they didn't have any evidence.
Right. And with the Michael Jackson thing, that was a little different. It wasn't a music battle. Because in music rap battles, people just say shit.
Right, you know? Right.
But they were filing paperwork on our brother Michael.
Yeah, they were trying to railroad
they were really trying to, and these were people he was helping. And then they would turn around and flip on him and then file this bogus paperwork on him. Right. And even the FBI did an investigation on Michael and didn't see anything. They didn't find anything. So.
Yeah, and they have a 98% conviction rate to where, like even though they weren't, it was state, the FBI got involved, and their track record is damn near flawless. And to not find anything is crazy.
Yeah, and that's the tactic for all black entertainers, man, especially iconic black entertainers. They use the exact same tactic over and over again. In order to take them out, you have to put some kind of sexual charge on them. Michael, he wasn't really around too many women like that. So let's say one of these kids did something.
Right.
With Bill Cosby, let's get these white women to say he did something. R. Kelly, they got him like that. And now they're doing it with Diddy.
Right.
They got Diddy in jail now. And what's funny with Diddy, nobody can really articulate what the actual crime was.
Right.
They're using the term trafficking. That gives the impression that he was making money selling women. And that wasn't the case. See, we got to watch the words that they use. Basically, Diddy was doing the same stuff he was doing in his music videos. Hey, I'm having parties. I got a bunch of women. We having sex. We're having fun. So now they're criminalizing consensual sex. So we got to look at that's a problem. Because that's what the Mann Act was designed for. See, that's what they got R. Kelly with, and that's what they're going at Diddy with. The Mann Act. That was something that was created to go after black men who were with white women in the 1920s. That's what they got Jack Johnson for. That's what they created the Mann Act.
Right.
Jack Johnson.
Is that RICO? The RICO?
Yeah, because it's a federal charge. So it's a racketeering act, and the racketeering is the Mann Act, where you're trafficking women. It's the actual name of the law is the White Slave Trafficking Act. That's what the Mann Act is.
Got you.
And they used that on Jack Johnson because all the white women were choosing Jack Johnson. And Jack Johnson was beating these white men up in the ring, and they couldn't beat him. Yeah. And he's running around smashing these white women. So they're like, no. We got to create a law for this. And also at the time in the 1910s, 1920s, a lot of white women who were European immigrants were coming over here and going to places like Chicago and New York, and they were getting with black pimps. And these black pimps were making a lot of money with these white European women, so that's why they call it the White Slave Trafficking Act, because they didn't want all them white women giving black pimps that money. It's a real interesting thing.
Damn.
Yeah.
So do you think that it has anything to do with that liquor company that he sued? Diageo?
That too, yeah. That's the main thing they got him for, because, and I talked about this before, a lot of these black entertainers, the smart thing for them to do is really ally with a white partner sometimes, because if you don't have the political connections as a black person, they're going to get you. Diddy was clicked in with Clyde Davis and some of these white liquor companies. The minute he got away from Clive and then went after the white liquor companies, that's when they got him, because he was out there and he was vulnerable.
Got you. Do you think that he was groomed by Clive Davis?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, Diddy was just out here doing the Hollywood thing, which is what a lot of them do.
Yeah.
But the thing is, once he goes after the big dogs, he tried to bite the hand that fed him, so to speak. And he didn't have any political connections or really big grassroots connections in black society. That's when they went after him. And that's why Dr. Dre is pretty much safe. You know why? Because Dre is clicked in with Jimmy Iovine. He keeps Jimmy Iovine right there next to him.
Right.
So he uses Iovine.
Yeah, he still got Jimmy next to him. Yeah.
Yeah. Even when in L.A., they named, didn't they name a part of UCLA?
Yeah. They did I don't know if it was a library or a theater.
Something there.
Yeah.
But it's the Andre Young, Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah.
Can you look that up?
Yeah, I'm going to look that up real quick.
It has both of their names on it, which is smart, which is cool on his behalf. Because a lot of people say, well, why don't Dre just do it on his own? No, you better understand some of these people, you better use them as your protection mechanism. Because if they go after Dre, Jimmy Iovine is going to catch strays too.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah. So this is the Jimmy Iovine and Andre Young Academy.
Yes.
So this is at USC.
USC, yes. USC, my bad, not UCLA.
Yeah,
It's
USC, Iovine and Young Academy. Damn.
Yep. So yeah, he keeps Jimmy Iovine right there next to him. In the Beats thing, Jimmy Iovine's right there next to him.
Oh, it's arts, technology, and business of innovation. Interesting.
Yeah. So
Okay.
sometimes you got to be strategic with some of your relationships out here.
Right.
Because as black people, if we don't have the right political connections, we'll leave ourselves open like that.
Right. So with that being said, and then I want to get your last thoughts. Diddy's case is coming up.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? Like, and I'll give you my thoughts on the whole thing too. But what do you think is going to happen? Because I believe it happens in May.
Yeah.
What do you think we're going to see?
It's going to be very interesting, man. They've ruined his reputation and his brand.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, that's over. In this case, it's real interesting because there are no victims. Who the hell are the victims? They put him in jail and then said, okay, everybody come forward with a lawsuit. And so the victims are coming later. And from what I've seen, some of the victims are dudes. So you got these former bodyguards talking about they got touched on in their booties. Just weird shit, man. So, like, dude, you could have fought a motherfucker off if you didn't want your booty touched, my nigga. Yeah. So it's weird with this whole Diddy thing. It's a finesse, I think. And I hope he gets, they throw this thing up out of here. Because now they're trying to go after Jay-Z with the bullshit now. And again, Jay-Z is clicked in with a lot of these people in the dominant society. So I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be interesting. I think that, here's the thing. I think that there is a pyramid, right? So, like, when you have these people clicked in, like you said, there's other stuff in play for these people to get hung out to dry. So, like, if you remember, when they first did that lawsuit with Diddy, who was attached to it? Lucien Grange. And all of a sudden, he just gets dropped out of the whole thing. They said they had no legal stance on it. It didn't have legs. He gets dropped out of it. It's like, why is that? Hold up. And remember, he's the head of Universal. We got to look at him. We got to look at, even going back to like when we were talking about this trafficking thing, what a lot of people don't know is that, Diddy lived a minute away from the Playboy Mansion. Now, Hugh Hefner. Now, there's a whole documentary where they're saying that he was trafficking. He had something called Pig Night. Every Thursday, we had all the Hollywood pimps come up to his house. He called the women pigs. Hey, how many pigs you got tonight? This and this and that. He had tunnels. That was documented. But we're not even talking about that. Like, how far does it go? Like, like none of this comes up. Like, he even wanted to stay in the house until he died.
Wow. And you know what? These major label execs, they never get caught up in these lawsuits. Like, whenever they get, because every black music exec, damn near all of them, since Sugar Hill Records, they've been targeted. Go ahead, even forget Sugar Hill Records. Going back to Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke was taken out.
Oh, yeah, they didn't like Sam Cooke.
Yeah, and he was being warned by the mafia to not have an independent label.
Right.
And that's why his death was mysterious. So even going back to the 60s, there's been funny style stuff going on with black music execs. Sugar Hill Records, they were looked into by the federal government. Jay Prince, Rap-A-Lot Records, Eazy-E, the feds were on them. Luther Campbell, we saw what was going on with him. Death Row. You know, they were saying that they were doing racketeering and all of this stuff, but they would never go after the parent company.
Right.
So that's a very interesting thing.
That's a great point.
Murder Inc.
That's a great point.
They were putting charges on those brothers.
Right. That's a great point.
Yes, indeed.
So it's always that they dangle a carrot and that one person, gets caught up and they don't look up the ladder.
Right. They'll stop at one part and don't look up. Okay, if everybody's up here making money, how come you're just going for this guy right here if it's a racketeering thing?
Right. And even with Eazy-E, I mean, that was so weird the way he died. It was just like instantly.
Yeah. And what's interesting, a lot of folks don't know, it was a brother from the Nation of Islam. At that time, they had a cure, allegedly, let me say this, because if you start saying stuff like cures for diseases,
right,
you get a ding. But allegedly, they had a cure for AIDS and HIV called Kimron. And they were giving it to Eazy. Somebody from the Nation of Islam was giving it to Eazy, but they made them stop doing it. And that's when Eazy fell back. But yeah, there's a book about that called, God. I'll give you the name of that book. There was a book talking about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
The Nation of Islam was giving Eazy treatment, and he was kind of reacting to it better, but then they made them stop. They made the Nation of Islam get up out of there, because this was at Cedars-Sinai, which is a Jewish hospital. And you had Jerry Heller, who was around, who had an issue with the nation. So it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing like that. It gets real
I've
deep.
never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it gets real deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it could go all the way up to the government, because that's the thing. Like, you got to remember, a lot of these labels are owned by the same people who own the private prisons.
Yes, it is.
So I think it could be CIA, government involved, and heavily in music.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
So... Damn, I gotta do a deep dive on that.
Yes, indeed. Look into that.
Sheesh.
Oh, yeah.
Man, yeah, so we're gonna wrap up, man. I know you gotta get out of here.
Yes.
Let the people know what you have going on. Plug away.
Yes, indeed, man. Y'all got to go get the new film, my new documentary. It's been out for a few months, called Microphone Check. It's a hip-hop history documentary, phenomenal film. You get that at microphonecheck.com. You guys can get our deodorant. We got a deodorant called Rootwork at rootworkstyle.com. And follow me on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Tariq Radio. So follow and subscribe. I drop a lot of good game on the YouTube channel, so check me out.
Yep, there you go. All right, y'all. Well, this has been another episode of Maverick Approach. Make sure you guys follow me on all socials, Maverick Approach. MaverickApproach.com for all your Maverick Approach needs. So make sure you guys continue to question everything, because nothing is what it seems.
Yes.
Peace.